Good evening, guys. We are live. Sorry, I'll start that again. This is why Simon does it usually. I think you may have already realised, but this one is going to be slightly different from the usual ones that we do. Much more serious topic. We'll try and keep it as light as we can, but there'll be a couple of fairly serious topics addressed in this one. And we're going to start off, actually, with a little VT to introduce roughly what we're going to be talking about. So here you go.
In Belize, I've teamed up with conservationists Vince and Cherie Rose, who are trying to rescue a crocodile that strayed into waters on the edge of a built-up area. The snare has been set, and I'm apprehensively anticipating my first ever crocodile rescue.
He's thinking about it, he's smelling it. And there's a fish eating the first piece of chicken, which is trembling in the water, and that's exciting him, and he's wondering what the heck.
I don't know who's more excited, you or the croc.
I am, my heart's beating. He's getting close, let's you and I go.
The sun has now gone down, and under cover of darkness, the raw chicken bait now seems to be attracting the croc's attention.
He's still coming in. Okay. He has to touch the chicken has to move.
But will he be bold enough to put his head through the snare to take it?
Nobody move.
We don't have to wait long to find out.
Oh!
Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know how good. Run up on him real quick, Cherie, and tell me how good I got him.
You got him. Mid-body.
Mid-body?
Mid-body.
What?
As the crocodile thrashes, Vince hands me the snare line.
I'm gonna give this to Simon. Got it.
He needs to try to get a rope around the croc's top jaw. The snap of these jaws is 4 times faster than the strike of a rattlesnake.
You're all right. Simon, you good? Yeah, I'm good. Right.
Vince needs to secure the head so that the crocodile can't snap back at us as we move in.
All right, line up behind Cherie. Cherie, you get ready. Hold on. Everybody chill. Let's see what if he's going to charge me.
Tell me. 1, 2, 3.
Go ahead. 1, 2, 3. Up. Perfect.
Vince now secures the jaws so that we can take a closer look at him. And we're in for a shock.
He's lost half a foot on this side. Oh, man.
Poor chap, huh?
This is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason for this croc to be tail macheted off and a foot missing.
His left foot and a section of his tail have been brutally hacked off by poachers.
What we're finding, Simon, is that the poachers are actually, they believe that the tails will regenerate, like on iguanas. So they're actually cutting the tails off, and they sell them on the black market for food to either the Chinese, or a lot of the Guatemalans eat it as well. And they throw the animal back, thinking that it'll regenerate a new tail.
I can do it again. Cut it off a nose.
Exactly.
Even as badly mutilated as this, crocodiles can still survive. Although the loss of such a large tail section significantly limits this crocodile's mobility.
That's what's missing.
Yeah.
Now that the croc is a lot calmer, Cherie wants me to understand more about how these creatures are so perfectly adapted for the environment in which they live.
This is their ear right here behind the eye, and they have 3 eyelids. They have one from the top down, one that'll come from the bottom up, and a clear nictating membrane from the center that'll move backwards across the eye. And that little clear membrane acts just like a scuba goggle when they're underneath the water.
Cherie, you want to get your gear? And
Yeah.
we'll do some data and
Definitely.
stats on
Do
them
you
real
want
quick.
to cover the eyes?
Yep. Actually, I'm gonna put Simon up front. So you're just gonna slide right up and then follow right Cherie's position. Right. Cherie will hold the head until you're in position.
Climb right up my butt. I got his head.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Keep
You're
it
in
down like
control.
that.
Yeah.
Cherie records details of the size of every croc they rescue. And so that they can be easily identified, she also inserts a microchip.
I'm just really worried that I'm the only one on the croc and everybody else is out of the way.
You're all right. You're all right.
Okay.
Hey, that's a good crocodile.
That brought the heart going from into there.
Cherie and Vince need to get this crocodile to a safer area, well away from the threats of poachers and tourists.
All right, lift your head.
This usually calms them down when you blindfold them, just like a horse.
For his own safety, they make him as secure as possible so that they can transport him to more remote waters further north.
I get to ride in the back with the croc, huh?
That's the game plan.
Tonight, he's being taken to a safe holding area ahead of his release tomorrow. And once again, I find myself a little too close for comfort as I head off in the back of a golf cart.
You're going to start talking? Or am I
Hello.
going to start talking?
Simon interrupted that one.
I did.
So that is a clip from Wildlife Sos International. So Wildlife SOS was our series on television. It ran for over 15 years, and Simon was lucky enough to be given the chance to travel the world, visiting other rescue centres and other animal-centric organisations, and experiencing what they do and how they work and how their work differs from what we do here in the UK. So Simon, what are a couple of things that you experienced on that?
It was so long ago, Laurie, I cannot remember anything about it. Actually, I can. I worked in Belize with Vince and Sherry Rose. Lovely, lovely people. Like anybody who works with wildlife, they are lovely people. In fact, when we met them, we jumped off the plane. We walked across the runway. They were there, met us, and within 5 minutes, it was just like we had known each other for years. We had an absolutely great time with them. Very dedicated people. And I was working with a creature which actually, well, the size that I've got in my hand at the moment was fine, but the size that we were working with at the time did scare me quite a lot because I just wasn't used to them. But when you get somebody like Vince, who obviously knows exactly what he's doing, you've only got to watch, as I always say, somebody do something once or twice, and you get the measure of the animal. You get to understand what you can do, what you can't do. So they taught me very quickly, and we were out there very quickly doing things with these crocodiles, mainly relocations, which I'm sure Laurie's going to ask me about very shortly, but he might not. Who knows?
Just going through a couple of... The broad thing wasn't just in Belize with the crocodiles. You did travel around the world. You were doing Namibia with cheetahs, you did Russia with wolves, a whole lot of different things. What was your sort of favourite experience? Which one sticks with you most?
I think my highlight of doing that series when we went abroad was the fact that I was like a mini David Attenborough, though I did swear much more than he does. I think the privilege to be able to go out and see these creatures in their natural habitat and work with the people who work with them is amazing. I mean, a favourite, you can't really have a favourite because every experience is different for different reasons, and it's just such a privilege to be able to do it. I mean, we were working there with crocodiles and I learned all about the troubles that they have and their interactions with people, and in other places it's all interactions with people, but I just learnt so much. It was the most amazing experience. I'd love to do it again now. I'd love to go and revisit all the people I visited then, which is now some 20 years ago, which is a long time. I had hair then and it wasn't quite so white as it is now, but you know, it was an amazing experience and I just learnt so much, and it just brought home to me, I think, the fact that the problems are the same the world over, and that's animal or creature versus man, but obviously the species are different. So it was pretty amazing. And in Belize, one of the biggest problems they had was the fact that crocodiles were used as a tourist attraction. So people would go round these sort of big ponds, these big lakes, with sort of dangling and throwing a chicken into that lake on a bit of string and pulling it out and putting it in again. The crocs got used to it. They got used to where they could find food. They knew that if somebody was there and there's a splashing in the water, it was probably going to be food. So they would do exactly that. They would come to it, just like if you feed your dog and you feed it in the same way every day, it knows what to expect. It knows what to come for. So these crocs would come out, they'd snap at the food, they'd get their chicken and off they went. But the trouble is, if then a person then takes their dog or pet or walks too close to the water themselves, these crocs see the movement of the water, they feel the vibrations, and out they come to grab it. And if it's not a bit of chicken on a string, it's either a dog or a human being, to be honest. So it's pretty disastrous. Now, that's not the croc's fault. You can't ever blame the croc for doing that. It's just learning, you know, like any animal. It's trying to get its food wherever it can. It's trying to feed whenever it can. So the only way to deal with that, you could either kill the croc, which would obviously be tragic, or you relocate them to a much quieter mangrove, somewhere way away from the public, so they can start to resume their lives, but there's no people there and they've got to learn to find their own food. They ain't going to get Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore.
So as you were saying earlier, the main thing that you took away from the international trips is the fact that regardless of where you are in the world, what species you're dealing with, the cause for the vast majority of the incidents is the same, and that is mankind.
It is, sadly. I mean, yeah, it's a disaster, and I know I cut you off in your train of thought there, which nothing gives me more pleasure because it's going to throw him right off balance. But that's my excitement for me. I might start dangling a chicken in front of him to see if he starts coming for that soon. No, it's mankind. It's wild creature versus man, and mankind sadly are winning because they have the power, they have the firepower, to be honest, whereas the animals don't have that pleasure.
So in terms of when you went abroad and you saw the impact that mankind was having on these other species, what sort of things did you see? What were some of the main areas that you were looking into?
There were just so many. I mean, if you sort of, if we went to, for instance, we went out to Vietnam and we saw all sorts of creatures, including pangolins, and obviously man take pangolins for their scales, and they will just try and trap them any way they can. Pangolins are lovely creatures. There they are being sort of got ready for transport. I think my lasting memory of the pangolin experience I had was the fact that the guy who was looking after the injured pangolins or the ones that needed relocating, he said come in and meet them and be with them, and that was absolutely fine. And I went in and the camera crew went in. What they didn't say is pangolin's favourite diet is massive great red ants. Now that's fine, that's fine. What they also didn't say is those red ants have got the most ferocious bite, and within probably 3 minutes of being in that enclosure with them, we were filming and I was talking and everything was going on, and suddenly there was not only screams from me but from the entire crew as we got absolutely bitten to pieces by these massive great red ants, and the whole sequence had to be shot about 5 or 6 times with us being annihilated by red ants. So that was their favourite food. We were in their space. Good on them really, but beautiful creatures. They wouldn't hurt a fly, to be honest. They might hurt a red ant, but they don't hurt a fly. So yeah, I get to see animals which have sadly had to be taken out of the wild because they're in trouble. Like us here in Wildlife Aid in England, we take a wild animal because it's in trouble, we get it better, we get it straight back out to the wild again. Sadly, in some of these foreign countries, it's not so easy because you put them back out to the wild and they're going to get attacked again and again and again. So they had to be very careful where they put them, where they relocate them to, and how they deal with them. And obviously sometimes these animals need a massive amount of humans around them to protect them once they get back out into the wild. So the expense of doing that sort of thing is absolutely huge. I mean, you feel you want to buy an entire continent to keep wildlife safe. We can't always do that. I was out there, when we were filming out there as well, we worked a lot with the moon bears, and they are hugely sought after for their medicinal value, of which actually there is none, but their bile is extracted in the most cruel way, and I spent actually a lot of my shots in that episode were me in tears. I couldn't get myself together. The crew were filming and I was just sitting there. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so upset by the whole experience. But there are these people again out there trying to help them, doing everything they can to protect them and keep them safe, and it's an ongoing job forever. I mean, the best thing for us would be when we were all made redundant, because all wildlife is safe. Sadly, at this stage, it's not. I wish I could say it's going to get better within the next 20 years, but I suspect we're going to have to work even harder within the next 20 years to keep these animals protected and try to get the balance back, which we've so badly lost over the last 100 years.
Going back to pangolins that we discussed earlier, many of you, I would imagine, have seen the latest series on the BBC, David Attenborough's Extinction, The Facts. That's what a lot of this is all based on. And pangolins, unfortunately, are the most trafficked animal on the planet at the moment. Full stop. Per year, they seize approximately 100 tons of pangolin scales. 100 tons. Which is the equivalent, I've got it written down here, of 175,000 pangolins a year.
That's a lot
all
of scales.
Seized, and their scales, they're keratin, the same as your nails. Absolutely no medicinal qualities whatsoever, but 175,000 animals per year are killed because of this demand for them.
This is the Laurie Brayley show. I'm quite enjoying this. I've never been interviewed by Laurie Brayley before. It's quite an excitement. No, it's true. I mean, man, I was going to use the word progresses. We don't progress. We just encroach, and you saw probably the extinction thing with David Attenborough the other night, and there's been other programs like it. I mean, David, others have been harping on about this for probably at least the last 10 years. In fact, when I was doing the end of series of Wildlife SOS back in 2010, I'd been talking about it already by then for about 5 years. But it took so long to get traction. It took so long for people to realise. And the danger we have now is people have realised, the populace knows and wants to do something about it, but we've got to persuade governments that they've got to make laws, they've got to enforce it, and we've got to get whole countries behind us with this. Because if we lose our wildlife, and if we lose, more importantly in a way, the wildlife habitat, then we are on a hiding to nothing. I mean, all these pandemics actually that are hitting us now have come out really because we are encroaching into territory where we've never been before. We're going deeper into the Amazon, we're destroying the Amazon, the ice is melting on the Arctic, and I just worry about all these diseases that were contained millions of years ago in the permafrost. As these ice shelves melt and they go into the sea, I'm terrified as to what is going to come back out at us in the form of pandemics. And I know I'm gloom and doom, I know I'm very old, but sorry, I've learned over. In fact, when I was probably in my 20s and 30s, I didn't care so much. You didn't really think it affected you. You thought it was, it's somewhere else, it's not me. This affects us all, guys, and you have to get to somebody, old and wrinkly like me to realise that this is really important. I think our children are doing incredibly well grasping what's necessary and what's important, but I mean, we have got to then persuade the governments that they've got to take it just as seriously. And yes, obviously all these governments want to protect economy and want to protect all the other things, but actually we rely upon this planet. The planet doesn't need us, it doesn't want us particularly, and if we weren't here it would probably be a much better planet. But we are here, and we have to learn to live with these things, and we have to make everything intact. We have to give everything its own space where it can thrive and not encroach too much, because I think there's a lot more to come. Sorry guys, I'm not meaning to be gloom and doom, but I want the children to understand that they've got the most horrendous task, they've got the most amazing challenge, which if they win will be absolutely stunning. But there's a long way to go, and we've got a lot of things to do to get to a balanced position.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's for anyone who's watching, who watched David Attenborough's program will know these facts, but 68% of all species on the planet are in decline at the moment. There are 1 million species at risk of imminent extinction, and that's out of 8 million species total. 30% of all soils have no animals in them anymore. The facts are staggering.
I'm going to start crying in a minute, Laura. You're scaring me to death. They are. It is horrendous, and I think everybody thinks they can protect the iconic species. Everybody says, oh, I'm going to sponsor a lion or a tiger or whatever it is. But actually, even those animals at the top of the food chain, the apex predators, need the lower end of the food chain to exist. And not only the lower end of the food chain, but the lower end of the food chain and them need the habitat. So it's got to be a holistic cure. You've got to do everything at once. It's a big task, but it's got to be an holistic cure. So you protect the habitat, you protect the lower end of the food chain, and they in turn will give the higher end of the food chain something to eat, because the animals at the top haven't got anything to eat. If there's no trees, no leaves, no food, whatever, whether they're carnivore or omnivore or herbivore, it ain't going to work. So this is what we've got to protect. This is what we've got to get back into balance. And we haven't got that long to do it. We haven't got that many years to get this right, because it's getting to a point where it's nearly at a tipping point. It's nearly gone too far. We've got to get it back, and we're going to rely upon our children to undo all the damage that we've done for so many years.
And the thing is as well, is we all have heard the stories about the fact being there's only 2 white rhino left on the planet. You've got poaching, you've got canned hunting of lions and tigers, and all of this worldwide. We've had so many people mention it, but it's not just limited to these sort of charismatic megafauna out thousands of miles away. It is happening on our own back door.
Well, England's supposed to be one of the most nature depleted planets, and we love animals, we love our green spaces, we love everything, yet how can we we who are supposed to understand and realise the importance of it, be one of the most nature depleted planets. It's because we're just encroaching. You know, we're building houses everywhere. We're taking out forests, we're taking out green spaces. In fact, they say now that in the southeast of England, the biggest wildlife corridors we have are people's back gardens. That's pretty scary, guys. I mean, you know, I think during COVID, we all went out and we had a chance to look at this wildlife and think how beautiful it was and how wonderful it was. Well, let's hold that thought, guys, and let's go forward and make sure we can still see this, all these creatures, in 20 or 30 years' time, because it is getting that critical. But I think, on top of that, I'm probably now jumping right into another topic. You could watch Laurie's face drop in a minute, because I've got onto something I shouldn't have done, and I've only started on it because I should probably get the look from Laurie, which means stop talking about it, Simon. Is, you know, you get Attenborough, you get Thunberg, all these people saying, it's up to us, guys. It's up to us. It's all disastrous. What they're not saying to us is how we can help, what we can do, and we've got to do it in bite-sized chunks. We can't all sit up and say we're going to save the planet. We've got to do little things, and this is why we launched iDot a while ago. I'm hoping it's going to get huge, because we all look at all these situations and say, well, you know, what is the point of us doing anything? We're one person in a population in the UK of 60 odd 70 million people. It ain't going to make any odds. But if one person did one thing a day, over a year, that'd be 24 billion actions. Now, 24 billion in anybody's money, if it was in my bank account, I'd be ever so pleased. But 24 billion is big numbers. So by doing our tiny actions as a sort of accumulative thing, as a sort of a group coming together to help, that would make an amazing difference. So yes, can I help wildlife? If 24 billion things happen a year, yes I can, and I can make a difference, and I can let people see going forward what they can do to help as well. Laurie, I'll now close that chapter of my rant.
But I think we need to realise that it's not something that someone else will deal with anymore. This is something that we have to realise is a problem, and we have to find a solution. Even in the UK, we've got 41% of all species have declined since the 1970s. 41%. 26% of mammals in the UK are at risk of extinction. The facts are just terrifying. The common toad, something that we all think of as a completely common animal, declined by 68%. Turtle dove, 98%. The hedgehog, 95%. You're looking at dormouse, 75%. These figures are the equivalent to what has been seen in tigers and in lions and in rhinos and amur leopards and all of these species that everyone knows are right on the edge, but no one knows it's happening right here in the UK. We have 1,549 species in the UK that are native to the UK only, and we have a duty to ensure that they continue and keep going on. Would you agree with that one?
Sorry, I fell asleep during that bit, Laurie. Totally. No, I mean, Laurie's got all the facts. I can see him looking down at all the facts, which I haven't got the privilege of doing. He just gives me one little piece of paper in very big writing saying you're very old, don't take too much on board. He's got little writing, I've got big writing. It is terrifying. It's something we have to make children understand. I mean, you know, you go to a school now and some of the inner city schools still don't understand where milk comes from. They think it comes from a bottle, you know, they don't understand it comes from a cow. And I know it sounds simplistic, I'm sorry if I'm preaching to convert it, but we need to understand that we need an intact food chain. And that intact food chain needs all the habitat to keep that sustained as well. So kids need to learn where everything comes from, how it gets here, how everything feeds everything else. And the only invasive species in my mind, and I'm very old now so I can say it and get away with it, is mankind, because we're just overtaking everything for our own benefit, which is actually going to suffocate us in the end. We're going to be suffocated as much, if not more, than all those species beneath us. So yeah, you know, children, sorry guys, I'm very old, I shan't be here to see the end result, but if you do get it right, I shall have big cheers from either down there or up there, wherever I go to when the time comes. Look, Laurie's already cheering because he thinks I might not be here. Look, a little smile on his little face. And Abby's tittering. I can hear Abby tittering in the background as well.
Did you hear me?
You see, she's waffling.
We can't deny that one.
I can't
deny that one.
No. You'll cry when I've gone for 30 seconds.
Maybe.
No, guy, it takes everybody. I mean, I will push it as hard as I can. Attenborough pushes it. Thunberg pushes it. Bella Lack pushes it. We all push it. But I think all these people, all the Attenboroughs and Thunbergs, have got to turn around and say, right, we've given you the bad news. You know, hopefully you've grasped that now. But here's the good news. This is what you can do to make it better, which is why I think IDOT is beyond vital. It's so imperative and yet so simple. You could do a tiny action a day. You could do a bigger action if you felt like it. You could do a bigger thing that took you a week to achieve with your mum and dad. We could all do it together. And you can sit back when you've done whatever you do. You might plant a little space in your garden for wildlife. You might plant friendly plants that bees and other animals love. You can sit back and you can pat yourself on the back when you've done that and said, I have done my bit. I've done my IDOT, and I will keep doing my IDOT, and more importantly, I will persuade others to do an IDOT as well. God, I sounded a bit like Boris Johnson then. That was quite scary. Oh, scary stuff.
So on that note, we're sort of coming towards the solution, really, which we hear all the time about the fact that there's this problem going on, whether it's in the UK or worldwide, but there's never an answer. There's never a what we can do. And as you're saying, the truth is that it's not going to be one person that changes it. It's not going to be governments that change it. It's not going to be an organisation that hasn't appeared yet, or even one that exists, that's going to change it. The only way to change it is each individual person has to change it. And that, I suppose, is the concept of IDOT, the thing that you came up with. Do you want to talk through that a bit? I know you
Well, it is. I mean, IDOT is exactly that. It's just doing one thing, however small, from picking up a rubber band to planting a wild space in your garden, to putting down a pile of logs and leaves and all sorts of things where wildlife can actually settle down. Those little things, those little actions, but 24 billion of them will make a huge difference. And I think we've got to give you now, we've told you all the bad news, and the bad news is pretty dire, but we have time to change it. We have time to turn the tide. We have time to make enough habitat for wildlife and to make enough habitat for wildlife as well. So all these things are important, and that's what IDOT does. So we're taking, really, we're picking up the banner that Attenborough and all these others have waved around, but saying, yeah, you're right, guys, but let us adopt IDOT and make it our aim in life just to do one thing a day. It can take you 2 seconds to pick up a rubber band, to pick up a broken can, to do something tiny. It will take you a bit longer to cut a hole in your fence for hedgehogs so they can go next door and have a look round to see who's next door. Laura's just showing a picture of a duck round its neck, a rubber band round a duck's neck. That's what the sort of thing goes wrong. You know, that duck got that rubber band, it got it round its neck, it couldn't fly, it would have died, we had to go in and get it. Hedgehog going into a can, an absolute disaster. There's all these little things that perhaps we don't think about that we could make better very, very simply and make a huge difference cumulatively. But we've got to get governments and we've got to get corporates alike to take on this message and to do something about it, not just pay lip service to it. Obviously we want a healthy economy. It's very important that we have a healthy economy, but if we've got no planet, there's not much point in building a healthy economy. So all the little things we do every day in the work we do here at Wildlife Aid by saving one animal, it all cumulatively works. I mean, somebody was talking to me this afternoon about hedgehogs, and we're going to overwinter probably 100, 200 hedgehogs this winter, which are too small to go back out, and they wouldn't make it through hibernation. And I can understand people say, well, what are you doing, Simon? 100 hedgehogs, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference when you've lost 29 million hedgehogs. But what you've got to think about is those 100 hedgehogs will go out, and over 10 years, by the time they breed, and they're going to get predated, things are going to go wrong. But even taking all those things into account, in 10 years' time, for every 100 hedgehogs we overwinter, there could be 35,000 hedgehogs out there more. So multiply Wildlife Aid by another 1,000 wildlife centres, you're then talking 3.5 million. I mean, massive numbers. It does make a difference. So your tiny action, if we all do it together, will actually become massive. It'll be huge. Now I look like David Bellamy and it's really scaring me.
I suppose that's the message we have to take away from all this. You can see all these programs and you think the world's going insane. Everything's doom and gloom. We are losing animals at a ridiculous rate, but we need to think of the hope in this as well, and the fact that we can do something. There is still time for us to do something, but we need to act. And that's the whole point of IDOT. Just one tiny thing. You'd think picking up an elastic band from the floor. Will that change the world? No, it won't change the world. But what if 1,000 people pick up an elastic band? Or 1,000,000 people? Then you start to make a difference. And if the entire global population, 7.2 billion people, meant to rise to 9 billion people by 2050, if every single person did one action, although tiny, a day, we would start to change the tide of this decline. And it can be anything. Like, you can think of different ones as well. So picking up a rubber band, crushing a can before you throw it out so that an animal doesn't get stuck into it. If you're wearing a mask, make sure you cut through these little strings here, because we see numerous reports of those getting wrapped around gulls' legs or other birds' legs.
Just a quick translation there, because for Laurie's mask, if you're in Surrey, it's mask.
I apologise, I'm from the north.
I'm getting transfixed by Laurie's t-shirt at the moment. That is the weirdest t-shirt I've ever seen anybody wear in my entire life.
Yeah, the t-shirt we haven't told you about.
No, the t-shirt
just can you recognise the species?
Yeah, it's a Laurie Brayley.
That, Mr. Cowell, is a flying otter.
That looks nothing like an otter at all, Mr. How you could say, you wildlife specialist, you says that looks like an otter. Wrong.
This one was actually drawn by one of our volunteers, a very, very talented illustrator called Gary Vaux. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So V-A-U-X.
Gary, I'm going to send you a picture of an otter. Gary, I'm going to send you a picture tomorrow.
But after all the discussions we had last time about flying otters, we thought it's only fitting that we immortalise them forever on a t-shirt. So here you go. Here is the first ever flying otter spotted in the wild.
I think actually, Laurie, it's you wanting to.
On your t-shirt.
It's you wanting to immortalise yourself, isn't it? Laurie wants to be immortalised. I think personally,
no one wants to immortalise me.
He should be put in formaldehyde. I think that'd be much better for him. But his mother might get cross. So yeah, no, all these things are important. I mean, you know, Laurie makes the odd mistake and, you know, says the wrong words.
Many.
Not that I make any. The great thing about being old, as I say at all my talks, is when I make a mistake, I've forgotten it in 5 seconds. So I'm innocent, totally innocent. We went out the other day, didn't we, Laura? I know I'm going to now change the subject because it's not on my sheet of paper at all. But we went out to a trapped adder the other day, which is the first time we've been out to a trapped adder. And it was only a tiny little thing, but actually their venom is just as powerful as a big adder. And he got himself, he went through a piece of corrugated fence. Laurie's right on the ball tonight. He's got that picture in front of him. Look at that. So he had gone through that piece of corrugated iron and couldn't get out. He couldn't pull back because his scales, rather like a hedgehog, the scales grow backwards, so he couldn't pull back out. So we had to chip away at that corrugated iron. And actually it was quite a nice release. He wasn't in any trouble. He didn't have any constriction wounds. And we let him go straight away. But I did my trick of the tube, Laurie. We used the tube, didn't we? The WildlifeAid tube.
Yeah, you'll see this. We actually have the video coming quite soon on that one. I've never used the tube on a snake. I've never seen the tube used. We've always had it in the back of the car. But
Laura said to me for years, why have you got that tube there? He said, Simon, why have you got a bit of tube there? Why would you have tube in your car?
Yeah, well, I've never thought it was used, because usually you just grab a snake.
In the old days, I used to use it for siphon petrol out of other people's cars when I didn't have any, Laurie. That's what I used to use it for. Suck hard enough, you get the petrol out of other people's cars, you can run your car. No,
You're
but that's what
treading legal lines here.
I tread a lot of legal lines, but I'm so old I will forget it in 5 minutes, so it'll be fine.
But yeah, I won't spoil it all, you'll see it in the video, but he came along with this tube, and to avoid us both being bitten as we cut the snake free, just quietly put the tube straight over the snake. So
and that stops it biting.
The snake was contained in a tube, which is ingenious, but you would never have thought of it.
To be honest, and one point we must make now actually very quickly is, however you worry about snakes, the only venomous snake in the UK is the udder. It's not going to kill a person. Having said that, I expect probably one day in the past it's killed one person. It's not going to hurt you that much. Yes, you should go to hospital if you get bitten by an adder. But what you should do if your dog or pet gets bitten by an adder, it is well worth taking them to the vet just to have a check over, because it's venomous. it's not enough venom to hurt us too badly. I tried like hell to get it to bite Laurie. I just wanted to see the effects because it would make great video. It would get great video, yeah, but I was hoping it would lose a bit of venom on the side of the tube and I could smur it all over your body. But it didn't happen.
You were a little worried when we were lifting it out that it was going to come back out the tube and take...
No, I was fine, yeah, it would have got me. I made sure I had the tube aimed towards Laurie if it went. But no, it went off. We won't tell you too much about the story, but just to say it was a happy adder at the end of the day. Unlike the flying otter, who's a breed who's now extinct, rather like Laurie.
Yeah, there's only one, and unfortunately we've already made it into a t-shirt.
Thank heavens for that. There's only one of Laurie too, thank heavens for that, guys.
Yeah, you don't
Bless my little cotton socks. Where are we going now, Laurie? Have we had any questions? Because we've been waffling away between us. Have we had any questions of any import today on the stream? Any money in?
We have. We've had an awful lot of donations coming in at the moment. You'll be pleased to know a certain person's made yet another appearance, Sven, who is becoming a bit of a celebrity on this live stream. I think he's more popular than either Simon or myself by quite a considerable way.
I think he should run the new centre, Laurie. I think when the new centre comes, not only should Sven pay for it, but he should then go and run it, and then I can retire in peace.
Are you up for that, Sven? Tell us in the comments if you're up for managing the whole new centre. That would be quite fun.
It would be cool.
So Sven has donated €150 and
he's gone up.
€50 for the t-shirt.
He likes the t-shirt, Simon.
Thank you very much, Sven.
Everyone's loving the t-shirt.
Everyone is loving the t-shirt.
I'm sure we could do a limited edition, Laurie. Couldn't we do that? Couldn't we do a limited edition of those t-shirts and sell them?
I'm sure we can arrange it.
You know me, I'm all about money. That's what's so tragic, really, because you know what we do well, and everybody hates it when I start talking about money. So I'm going to make it really brief. But if we get more money, we can save more animals. It's as simple as that. In the old days, if you get $1 million quid from one person, that'd be great. Nowadays, like the actions we take on IDOT, get £1 from 1 million people, it's the same effect. So it's the little things, it's all the little things we can do that make it go forward. Now, I promise to stop talking about money now, Laurie, and legacies. I won't mention the word legacies again, Laurie. You know, legacies aren't in the equation.
We're going to have words afterwards. But on the same topic of the little things all add up, back to the whole IDOT things, there are a whole number of different things that you can actually do that will make a difference. So over on our IDOT website, which Abby, who is over here and is refusing to be on camera, I might turn the camera around and get hit. Oh, I'm getting the most evil look.
Tiny little shot of Abby. I think a little shot of Abby wouldn't hurt. It's rather like, Laurie, it's rather like if you give everybody a little bit of venom over a long period of time. Look, look at that. Well done, that girl. That's very brave for Abby, guys. Really brave. Adam, that's got to be worth £99.99 from you for your lovely wife to do that. It is the little things, and I mean, you know, maybe we could sell the t-shirts, maybe do anything else. If you give us the tools, either money, we can do the work, and we can do more and more and more. The new centre which we want to build so desperately will go so far in education about wildlife, and we'll teach children why we need the wildlife, why we need the habitat, and all the other things. I've now forgotten how we got into this, Laurie, so I'll shut up immediately.
I think this is the first time that we've been speaking about IDOT and you've refused to stay on the topic of IDOT.
Yeah.
This is, for those of you who don't know, Simon came up with the whole concept of IDOT about 3-4 years ago, something like that.
Probably a bit more.
And ever since then, we've not heard anything else. There is a t-shirt that's actually hanging on the wall behind him that says IDOT, IDOT, IDOT food chain, which are his 4 favourite words, and yes, I know 3 of them are the same. Are you getting it? There we go. IDOT, IDOT, IDOT food chain. He was asked at one point to come up with 4 words he thinks best describe the centre, and that was the result.
That's very true. What more could you want? It's the truth. It's vital. And that's what, sadly, so many people don't realise at the moment, but it is vital. And, you know, with your help, and if you go home tonight and tell one person about it, and you tell them to tell one person, ideally 2 people, because if it mushrooms, you tell 2 people, they each tell 2 people, that's how this sort of concept will begin to bite. It will begin to go viral in its own strange way, but that's what we need. We need people to really do this sort of thing. It can be easy, it can be difficult. You could do a massive IDOT, which could take you a week, or a month or whatever. Get your parents to help you if you're children. But there's so much we could do. There's so much. And to be honest, the pleasure you'll get from it. I mean, even little things like when we all went into this sort of lockdown over COVID and everybody was sitting in their gardens, they began to notice the wildlife around and they began to enjoy it. They began to get pleasure from it. And this is what we've got to think. It's giving us pleasure. We don't want a concrete jungle. It would be such a boring world to live in. And it would be us who are supposed to be the custodians of the earth, heaven help us, doing something right for a change, because it's quite sad. But it's governments, as I say, and corporates who just will not bite that because they're so concerned about their bottom line. The bottom line is a financial bottom line. Yes, it's important, of course it is. But if they haven't got anybody here to have a bottom line with, there's no planet, guys. You're not going to have a bottom line. Don't worry about it. Let's get started at the bottom and work upwards, which is Laurie's been trying to do that for the last 5 years.
There are no words. There are no words.
Thank heavens for that. I love to see Laurie speechless.
Give people a challenge.
So, luckily, even though Simon seems to have gone completely nuts on the whole IDOT thing, if you were looking for even ideas of what you can do, if you head over to our IDOT website, Abby will post the link in the chat. So IDOT, for those of you who don't know, stands for I Do One Thing. And it's the concept of doing one thing per day to help the planet. And that, over hundreds of people, thousands of people, millions of people, adds up to be a huge change for the better. So that link should be in the... Abby has just posted now. I've just been reliably informed. It's currently in the comments. If you click on there, you can see hundreds of different ideas on there. And you can come up with your own ones. Start using recycled paper.
To me, Laurie, which is more important, is that I want to see people's ideas. I don't want to give them too many ideas because it's all, you know, you've done that, seen that. I love some original ideas from people. Now, I'm personally, notwithstanding the aforementioned fact, we've got some IDOT badges, guys, and for everybody who gives us an idea that we really, really love, that we think is unique, that we think will take off, we will send you one of these IDOT badges if you're in the UK. If you're anywhere abroad, not in the UK, we will charge you $5,000 for that IDOT badge. No, I'm joking, guys. But it's that important. You know, if you want to, it's rather like the Blue Peter badge. I'm now going off. Look, see, many years ago when I was young, I went on to Blue Peter to talk about wildlife and animals, and they gave me this. And it was one of the first green Blue Peter badges ever issued. And I was very, very proud of it. And there's a story behind this as well, because I then lost it. Some years ago, about 5-6 years ago, I found that I'd lost it. And I was so upset at losing my green Blue Peter badge that I wrote to him and said, I'm really sorry. I'm a very, very old man, but I'm really upset that I lost my green Blue Peter badge. So they wrote back saying, we do give these out on very rare occasions, but to anybody 15 or younger. But because you're so old and you were one of the first people on Blue Peter doing an environmental thing, we'll send you one. So they sent me my reconditioned Blue Peter badge. So I'm very proud of that. I hope it'd be wonderful if we could give out 1 million IDOT badges, because it would mean that millions of people have come on board. And if we could get the IDOT badge as famous as this Blue Peter badge, the green one, I would die a very, very happy man. And Laurie might even smile. No, that was wind, Laurie. That wasn't a smile, that was wind.
I don't know how I put up with you.
Because I pay you, Laurie. That's why. Oh dear.
Touche.
Touche. I mean, it is any team. I mean, Abby, Laurie, Sean, we all work together. It's an amazing team, and we are a creative team. We have our arguments, we have our rows, because we're passionate about what we do. And you know, I come up stuck on some rescues with Laurie, he argues with me, he does things, whatever, differently. But the passion is what drives us. And if you can't be passionate about this planet, then give it up, guys, because Laurie's become a flying otter. What else can you have?
Look, we've had a couple of questions that have come in recently that are on the similar topic that we're talking about at the moment. We've just had, if you guys could have a 20-second ad on every British TV every week, what would you ask of people that would have the biggest impact on what we do?
Well, you see, most of my brain would say talk about IDOT. The other percentage of my brain would say, please give us money because then we could do more IDOTs and push more people. It works together. So it's education. I mean, I put a hypothetical question to somebody a few years ago, and I said, you know, if you were to give me £10 million, I can only spend it on either the wildlife hospital or education, how would I spend it? And I talked to myself, sadly, I'd have to spend it on education because that is what is so vital. You know, the wildlife hospital, I love, it's the passion, it's what drives, it's the whole soul of Wildlife Aid, it's the throbbing heart of Wildlife Aid. But it's got to be education. We've got to make people understand, children understand particularly, that we need a cohesively working, intact planet. And we are uniformly ruining that at the moment, which is what Attenborough is going on about, so is everybody else. But we're trying to give you a fix. We're trying to give you an IDOT. We're trying to make you spread the word far and wide to do your one thing a day. And one day, when there's lots of people following us, millions and millions and millions, I will turn around to you all and say, right, your IDOT for today is to just give Wildlife Aid £1 once. Because then we could build a new centre. Job done. So simple. It's so easy, Laurie. In my mind, it's so easy. In my bank account, it's so difficult.
And that's the thing. In an absolutely ideal world, places like ours, we wouldn't exist. More than 90% of the things that we get in are directly or indirectly caused to due to the actions of man. And in an ideal world, and we could actually stop those, and with, as Simon says, the education, we could teach people how just raising netting 1 foot off the ground could help save the life of a fox or a hedgehog or a badger or a deer. And if we had the capacity to educate the public and to inform people of how these tiny insignificant things, you think raise a net makes no difference to me, can make a difference, then in an ideal world we wouldn't be here. The RSPCA wouldn't be here. Any of these organisations that specialise in dealing with animals who have been affected by man wouldn't be here.
Laurie's got to realise now that he's just in the middle of talking himself out of a job. And he's talking Abby out of a job. And Shine
I
out
would
of a job.
be more than happy to not have a job if the cause that we are all fighting for was removed.
Yeah, but then you've caused me the stress, Laurie, of having to give you a food parcel every day to keep you alive. You know, a bit of tin foil to sleep in, a food parcel to eat. It would be quite daunting to see. It would be daunting to see, Laurie. And it would upset your mum as well. Let's face it, it would upset your mum a bit as well, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I'm from the north. It's probably an upgrade.
True. Give me a strong cup of tea. It'll be fine with a cup of tea. Where are we going now, Laurie? Because I'm sure we've gone right off track, haven't we?
Yes, so how this all boils down to is we would quite like to give you guys, every one of you watching at the moment, a task, an easy task to do by the time that we go live in 2 weeks' time for our next live stream. And that is do 3 things to help wildlife or the planet. So we've got a couple of different ones. If you want to change them and do your own ones, feel free. But the first one we've got is stop sending thank you emails. That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? To stop sending thank you emails. Why would that make any change?
I do that all the time because I feel it. You see, the trouble is, I'm an old man, Laurie. Somebody does something nice for me. That. So somebody does something nice for us, for the charity or for me, and they send, I've done this. I always say thank you because I feel it's the right thing to do. So somehow, not only have we got to stop sending these thank yous, but we've got to make people understand why we've stopped sending the thank yous. Because Laurie's going to give you a startling, an astounding, and the most monumental fact.
If each person sent 1 thank you email per day, that is the equivalent of 16,433 tons of carbon dioxide released through making that email happen, which is the equivalent of flying London to Madrid 81,152 times.
That's actually quite scary.
Staggering.
It is unbelievable, but I can't understand why anybody would want to fly to Madrid 81,000 times. It doesn't make any. But no, seriously, I mean, Laurie told me that fact this afternoon. I thought he was talking absolute rubbish. I really thought he was talking crap. You know, it's little things like that. I mean, I always send a thank you because it's polite. So now somehow you've got to send a thank you without being carbon heavy about it. So it's the little things. It is the tiniest things. I mean, I checked something the other night. I was having a bath and I thought, I wonder what happens if I put 5 litres less of water in my bath. So like an idiot, because I'm old and a bit weird, I took a 5 litre container up to my bath. I ran my bath. I put the 5 litre container in the bath and took the water out. I could not notice the difference. There was no difference to the level of that bath water that a micrometer could have detected. And yet, if everybody did that, that's 5 litres of water per bath, wash, whatever you're doing per day, is hundreds of billions of litres of water a year. And water, believe it or not, guys, trust me, water is going to become a very, very premium product. We're going to run out of water. We're going to have to be very careful with water. But if you could save hundreds of billions of gallons of water a year, it's so simple. It sounds too easy, really. But again, we still need the drive from governments and corporates to do it, because sadly we like to be led. We like to be told what to do, and it needs them to tell us. We're telling you what to do. Attenborough's been telling you what to do for years, or telling you the disaster. What we're trying to do is be positive and saying, just 5 litres of water less a day, do this, do that, pick up that bit of litter, build a little hole in your fence for hedgehogs. All these little things will begin to accumulate to the most massive change. It will be, here's my favourite word, Laurie, it will be a paradigm shift, and that's what we need. And Laurie's now completely lost the plot with his flying otter.
Anyway.
Speech. I love Laurie's speechless. It gives me so much pleasure to hear him speechless.
The other 2 ideas that we have, and feel free, do change these if there's something that you would prefer. As I said, on the iDot website we've got a whole load of these. The second one, raise netting off the floor. And you might have a football net in your garden, you might have fruit netting covering, something like that. Raise it about a foot off the floor. And that will allow hedgehogs and foxes and anything to get underneath, won't get stuck, and you'll be helping to save hundreds, if not thousands, of lives per year. We get called, you guys who watch our videos, you see it all the time, the amount of times we're called out to animals trapped in netting, trapped in fences. Just give that small gap, give the animals a chance, and you'll be amazed at what a difference it makes.
But we have had our first story. We've now got to add to that list. Don't put corrugated iron down on the floor with a hole in it, because that's a new one. We had the fox cub in the rim of the tyre, didn't we?
Yes.
And if Laurie's very quick, he'll bring that up again. I see how good he is. So fox cub, rim of the wheel, go Laurie, now. Oh, he's too good. I can't stand the pain of him being so good.
It's
little things like
predictable.
that. It's little things like that that actually do make this huge difference. And guys, it's so easy for us to say it. It's trying to drum it into you that you take notice of it and just trust an old man that he's honestly telling the truth. I mean, you can look at Laurie and his flying otter and think, well, he's not talking the truth. But he is. I mean, we all care. We all are passionate. And we have teams of people working. I mean, this year has been awful for us. We've had not only COVID, so we've been 50% of staff down, but we've had a 50% increase, which we've never seen before. We've had a 50% increase in patients all through the summer. I mean, our vet teams, our volunteers and everybody have been working to the most absurd hours. I often come and sit at my desk to finish off my emails about midnight or just after, and I look up at my screen, which is to the right of me now, and I can see everybody there. But at 12:30, they're still there. The vet team are still there at 12:30 at night. And this isn't once a week or a few times a week. This is 7 days a week. I mean, the passion and devotion we get from our teams and our volunteers are just absolutely stunning. I mean, everyone, I'm looking around now. Well, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the screens. The receptionists are there, Alice is there, the vet team's there, the volunteers are there, and they've all got work to do. But in the peak of the summer when we were so short, they were still here at 12:30 at night, and sometimes at 1 o'clock. I think they deserve the biggest thank you from everybody, not only from me, because without them we wouldn't be able to do what we do, but I can't, I actually get choked, and I do get choked when I think of their devotion and how mad and insane they must be, rather like me.
And that's the thing, without the 370 plus volunteers that we have, we wouldn't be able to run at all. What we do just wouldn't happen. And these people doing their one thing, doing their 1 day a week, once every 2 weeks, however
That's
long
their
it is.
iDot, Laurie. That is their iDot.
And the difference that they are making is Wildlife Aid. we wouldn't exist without them. So everything that we have done, everything that you've seen us do, is because a group of people decided to do one thing. It really can make a difference.
Laurie Brayley has become the new Simon Cowell of WildlifeAid. Simon
No
can
one's-
now
no one's
die
seen me like this
in
before.
peace. I can be really quiet now and lie in my coffin like this, going, Laurie's got it under control.
So, the
No,
third thing,
true.
as
So
an
no,
idea
let me just
for
one
things
time.
to-
Last time,
Oh,
all our volunteers, all our staff, it's because of you that we are here tonight. Now I shouldn't have phrased it like that, really, Laurie, should I? It's because of you, Laurie's here tonight. I shouldn't have phrased it like that either. Laurie, I'm going to shut up. Off you go.
he meant thank you.
I've got Laurie in my right ear. It's very scary when Laurie's in my right ear.
So the third thing we were thinking, create a hedgehog highway in your fence. So this one has been around a number of times. Hedgehogs can travel up to a mile each evening to find food or shelter or a mate or anything like that. And what we're now doing, certainly in the UK, is we're boxing our gardens in. We're putting fences down, we're putting walls down, and we're preventing these animals from actually doing the things that they need to do. And all it takes, as Simon is now showing you, is a hole 15 centimetres wide, about the same size as a CD, if you can still remember those.
Actually, looking at it, Laurie, to be honest, having seen what you and I have seen over the years,
There have been some pretty chunky
it
hedgehogs.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. No, it doesn't even need to be that big. It's amazing what a hedgehog can squeeze through.
Oh yeah.
You could probably be a bit less, but 15 centimetres would be fine. If you've got a small dog and you're worried about 15 centimetres, you could probably take it down to 10 centimetres. And most of the hedgehogs, apart from the ones that have convalesced here, which go out at about 500 kilos each, would be fine going through that. We did have a slight problem the other day, didn't we, Laurie? Laurie doesn't know what I'm going to talk about now, so you can see that slight
I don't
concern
know.
on his face.
I
Okay,
might do.
just give me one letter now, one letter, the first letter of the word that I'm going to talk about.
I'm not going to risk
He
this.
can't do it. He can't do
I'm
it.
not going to risk
So
this.
we released half our badgers last week. So we had 14 badgers. We released the first 7, which were the biggest ones, and we check the microchip numbers, we check the sexes to make sure we've done the right thing, and we put one badger on the scales, and it was a bit embarrassing. It was a bit embarrassing.
It really
because
was.
This badger weighed 17 kilos, nearly as much as Laurie. Nearly as much as Laurie. It's quite big. It was quite a big badger. But you know, it's very difficult when you're feeding 14 badgers. You want them all to get food. And if you feed enough for each badger, you know the fat ones are going to get fatter and the thin ones are going to lose weight. So we did have 3 or 4 badgers at the end of the bottom of the pecking list that were actually not putting on weight as they should do. So we've released the heaviest 7. We're going to keep the second 7 back for a couple of weeks to give them a chance to eat more food, because I know who was eating most of the food. And the little devil weighed 17 kilos when he went away from here. He's not coming back here again. So, but you know, that's what we do. We you know, everybody thinks when you release these things, you know, it's only 20 badgers, it's only 100 hedgehogs, it doesn't matter. But what you've got to do in your head is work out what they would produce in turn over 10 years and what the progeny they would put back to the wild. So it's not what we're saving today, because my favourite poem in the world is Starfish, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. You've got to go and look it up. Look up the poem
It
Starfish.
is on the channel.
It matters to that one, and if you say that one produces tens, if not hundreds, if not thousands in 10 years' time. So you're beginning to put it back. We can't all put it back tomorrow. However much Laurie does one thing a day or whatever, it's not going to be better tomorrow. But over 10 or 15 years, you will start to see a massive increase and a massive saving of both wildlife, and we need to save our habitat too. We need to stop building so much. We need to stop taking out all the green space. We need some laws that make us keep at least 30-35% of our green space intact. When you fly over England and everybody says, you know, it's a nightmare and hedgehogs are going to go extinct. There are some beautiful green areas in England. Hedgehogs won't go extinct in the UK. They might have urban extinction, and I fully believe that, but there's enough green for them to survive. But what we don't want to lose is any more of that green space, any more of these forests, any more of this woodland, any more of this wetland, which is also vital, which is why at the new centre we're building a whole complex of ponds to make it a real sustainable wetland, so it attracts species in so they can do what they need to do and go off and go somewhere else. It's all about building wildlife corridors, and they have to remain intact. It's as important as everything else, intact wildlife corridors. Should I get off my soapbox again, Laurie? I'll leave you to your flying otter.
So all we're asking you guys to do is over the next couple of weeks, try and do, we're saying 3 things, even if it's one, even if it's just one thing in the next month, it can make a difference. And we're asking, if you do it, please take a photo, take a video or something like that, and post it onto your social media platform and tag us at #IDoOneThing. That will be appearing in the chat. #IDoOneThing. And we will look through those, we'll see what there is there, we'll see how many we've done by the time that we hit next week, and we'll see how wide we can get this to go. So if you do anything, please put it up on social media, hashtag it with #IDoOneThing, and hopefully we can make this much larger than any of us.
And the most inventive thing, or the most exciting thing, or the thing that makes me laugh, there should be three prizes really, shouldn't there? The most inventive, the most exciting, and the one that makes me laugh most will get an IDOT badge. And they, in 50 years' time, guys, could be worth thousands of pounds. The Simon Cowell Wildlife Aid IDOT badge.
Speaking of money, you guys have been incredibly generous for the duration of this rant turned live stream. So we need to thank a few people. So first off, Rebecca Rabbit 32 has donated £15. Thank you so much. Carla Bennett has donated £5 and it's put from Carla and son Rory, who says, "Hi Laurie." Hello. It was great to meet you in the car park all those many weeks ago. Ceres Victoria has donated $50 and has put, "Thank you so much for your service to wildlife. Thank you so much. We wouldn't be able to do it without the support of people like you, so thank you very much." Pernilla Berg has donated 100 Swedish krona. Thank you very much to you as well. We've had 350 Danish krona with "Thank you for your inspiration." Huge thank you to you as well. Adam Warner has reappeared. With
How much, Laurie? How much?
£9.99.
That's
but
all.
Abby should make an appearance this week, which he actually got.
That's all he's worth. So Abby, all you're worth to your husband is £9.99. I want you to go home tonight and tell him that appearance was worth at least £99.99. Otherwise, it'll just show what a tight man he is and how much he doesn't appreciate his beautiful wife. What more can I say, guys? What more can I say? No, honestly, it's brilliant. It is brilliant. We're pretty much over the hour now, so we've got to be careful. But yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about IDOT a lot, but it is, I don't know how to say this. It's the most important thing any of us must concentrate on for the next years. If we get this right, we can, in our own small way, and others will help us as well, turn this thing round. Doing your one thing a day could make a tremendous difference, and it's no good thinking somebody else will do it, or it doesn't matter, it's nothing, it's only me, nobody else do it. Do it, guys, and you will see the most massive turnaround, and I will die a very, very happy old man, and I'll probably go to heaven as a flying otter.
This is going to become a thing, just to warn you.
It is a thing.
So, more donations. Wildlife's donated £1, thank you very much. Love Pet, $4.99 US. We must stop using fossil fuels, we don't deserve this planet. That would be, in an ideal world, we'd love to do that one. Lolongs has donated £11.11. Adam Oliver donated £10 for the love of wildlife, huge thank you to you. Sven, of course, has donated €150 and has put €50 extra for the t-shirt. I like that. Thank you very much, Sven.
We will get
thank you very much to Gary for designing it as well.
Laurie, can we get 10 of those printed and we'll auction them off in the next live stream? We'll auction off.
I'm sure we can.
And we'll put it with Laurie's Flying Otter. I think we should actually caption it at the bottom because Laurie has become infamous in his own right.
We've also, the Warren has donated €25 for the Flying Otter Fund in that one.
Excellent.
Flutterby0704, £2.99 has put for Abby and Flying Otter making appearances.
I'm really worried because the only person we haven't heard from tonight, unless you haven't told me, is Scottish Astronomer. She really loved us. Scottish Astronomer loved us, but she read my book and hasn't talked to us since. That's quite tragic. Two books she's read of mine and that's it. Blown her out.
She's actually saying thank you very much for sending the books back out to her as well. So,
I believe she said
But
and
did
she's
she
also
enjoy them?
donated £50 as well. It's my birthday next week, so here is some of my birthday money. Thanks for the bucks. It's so kind of you. Huge thank you and huge happy birthday in advance.
Now I
Your
feel
support
very
is
guilty,
incredible.
Laurie. I feel guilty now.
Good.
So Laurie will pay you back from his own personal bank account for that. Let's make Laurie feel obliged to do it. Guys, you've been stars. We're getting way past our hour.
We are. We just need to go through a couple of the questions that have been asked before
Go
we
on.
wrap up.
Go
It
on.
shouldn't take too long.
This is rapid fire. We're going to rapid fire now.
We are. We're going into rapid fire questions.
Rapid
if you do have
fire, here
questions,
we go.
Please leave them in the chat and we'll get through as many as we possibly can. So Flutterby0704 has asked, what are Vince and Cherie doing now?
Vince and Cherie are still doing the same thing. They're still in Belize. There's a lot of political issues out there. They find it very hard to do their work. But they, like us at Wildlife Aid, will be going until they either get eaten by a crocodile or pooed on by a flying otter. Next.
Joanna Lee has put, what was the funniest rescue you've been on recently?
I'm trying to think of that. I'm trying to think of something funny. I can't think of any funny. You probably can.
I think
can't you?
the funniest
Laura's
one
got
for
it.
you was
Laura's got
having
the answer.
me crawl under a rubbish compactor for a while and still not getting the animal because it came out of a hole we hadn't spotted and you caught it instead. That was
No,
probably
that
the
wasn't
most-
funny. That was just what Laurie has to do.
Oh,
Laurie
you
has
did
to,
not
Laurie
let me
has to
forget
do all this
that for a
stuff.
long
No, I
time.
won't. I won't let him forget about the Grasper incident. But that's for another. Issue. Yeah, Laurie. Yeah, you can't talk about Laurie. It gets funny if you talk about it. Anything else? Quick fire. Off we go.
Rebecca Rabbits just asked, do you guys have any trouble involving prank calls?
Inviting what?
Do we have any issues with prank calls to our helpline?
It's a bit of a dangerous thing to talk about because it'll probably happen now. We're very lucky as a charity. We don't get a lot of prank calls. We don't get a lot of nasty calls, and I thank everybody for that. Having said that, we'll probably open ourselves up for it now, but we don't get a lot of prank calls. So I think we get the odd one every now and then, but nothing that serious because our time is valuable. If we get called out to something, we got called out the other day for a sparrowhawk in a warehouse. What people forget is that Laurie and I are on the road for nearly 2 hours to do a 5-minute rescue. So it's not only Laurie's and my time, but it's all the petrol to get there and get back. So, you know, if we got too many prank calls, we would get out to going all these things. It would stop us saving what we could save and cost us a lot of money for achieving nothing. So thank you guys for being honest with us. We will always try to be honest and faithful to you.
Silver Legion has asked, have you ever had a dangerous situation during a rescue that you've had to walk away from?
Yes, we've had dangerous situations. I don't think we've ever walked away from anything that we didn't have to. I can't think of anything we've had to walk away from. Sometimes something's gone and we can't get it, and that happens sadly in this life. But we've never walked away from a dangerous situation that I can think of, and I'm thinking back now through 40 years, guys.
We tend to find a way. We're
And if
not
I won't-
cavalier with safety, but we do tend to find a way.
Cavalier, what's that word, Laurie? Laurie's another flying otter again. He just puts on his flying otter outfit and he's there to the rescue. Laurie's there. No, we don't walk
I
away.
have to work with this man.
Even if sometimes we have to go back and rethink it, we will put together in our minds what we need to do to achieve the result, and we will do it. And Laurie's worse than I am. Laurie's an absolute bloody nightmare. If we
In
don't
general.
get something or something happens, he sulks for weeks. I mean, I feel sorry for his girlfriend because he will just go into non-talking, miserable, stroppy mode for ages. I can just ignore him. I just shut my office door and it's easy.
You ignore me all the
But
time anyway.
I know I do. I try to. All
This
the
is
time.
the only time we talk.
Yeah, it is. It is. Go on. Next one.
Private Dead has written, Simon, after watching your videos, you've inspired me to start rescuing wildlife, but I have no idea where to start as I don't own my own home and I'm not got much disposable income. How can I help?
Do what you can. Don't ever overstretch yourself. Do what you can. You can do it with no income. When we started, we had very little income. I actually financed the centre myself for the first quite a few years. But you don't need a lot. Just help an animal, help a situation, do something that helps, however tiny. It's the IDOT principle. Just do what you can. Nobody's expecting you to spend all your money and go broke or whatever. I expect it of Laurie because that's the sort of guy he is. You know, if he doesn't eat, doesn't worry me. If he gets too thin, I sort of feed him a little bit of water.
I get
every now
towed
and
off
then.
if I don't eat.
Or a bit of cheese. It keeps him going. But no, honestly, you can start from nothing. But just remember, if you do it and you get too big at it, you're going to end up looking like me.
No, don't. The other thing as well, especially if you are just starting out, volunteer at your local wildlife rescue centre. They're always looking for volunteers. Volunteers are the lifeblood of so many of these centres. And go
all of them.
Learn what to do.
Lifeblood of everyone.
Yeah. Learn what to do, learn the different ways to do things, experience what it's like to run one of these rescue centres. Go out on rescues, feed orphans, anything like that. You will still be making a huge difference, even if it's not directly on your own land.
So there they are. Laurie being sensible. Next question.
Marilyn,
we're running out of time.
What are the major challenges you faced during lockdown, and have you got an action plan for this autumn/winter with COVID raising its head again?
We don't change, guys. We do what we do. When lockdown started, and even before it started, we were ready. We had our PPE in place. We had everything in place. Alice, who scares us all to death without any doubt, had everything mapped out, set out, sorted out, and God help us, we didn't falter for 1 minute, to be honest. Not literally a minute. We were there. We were running. It hasn't slowed us down. It hasn't stopped us. And it's only because we're all so scared of Alice, really, that it happens. It works quite well for me. No, so it hasn't affected us at all, guys.
Yeah, we'll be
On we
hugely
go.
thankful for all the volunteers that came in, did extra hours, extra shifts to make up for those that couldn't come in because they had to isolate. But as Simon said, we were able to continue with life pretty much as normal, and that's a huge credit to the people who were involved in making that
Absolutely.
happen. So thank you
Next
very much
question.
for that. Rebecca Rabbit has asked, why is it always sparrowhawks that get stuck in warehouses?
It's not sparrowhawks and kestrels mainly. However, without saying too much, you will see an owl in a peculiar place, but I'm not going to say any more about that because it's going to come out in a video soon. But kestrels and sparrowhawks are the ones that get stuck in them for the simple fact when they go into a building, whatever you do, you can open all the doors, all the windows, they will not ever fly down to get out. So you've got to go in and get them. Only once, I think, in all the rescues I've done, did a sparrowhawk actually go down low enough to fly out of the door. Only once. So that's why they get stuck, because they won't go down. Next.
And I think at this point, it is just about time to start wrapping it up, I think. Especially as you've been chomping at the bit.
Chomping at the bit?
Before we go though, we do want to say a huge thank you to not only all of you for watching, but to all of the staff, the volunteers, everyone that is working up at the centre at the moment. Everyone is still frantic with everything that we've got going, and people will be here until midnight and beyond, so huge thank you to them. Thank you to you for actually tuning in, for supporting us, for all of this, and other than that, I think we're...
Don't forget to do your eye dots.
Don't forget to do your eye dots. That's
I
happened.
think,
Would you like to come in and say
I
that?
think she has to say this, don't she? Abby, who spent 6 months working her little cotton socks off with eye dot,
okay,
but there
save
she
the
is.
Planet.
She's good at.
Bye.
She's brilliant. You're all brilliant, guys. You're all brilliant. This centre works because of a whole cooperative people who care, and because you care and we care. This is why we will make this work. iDot will be a thing of the future. Thank you. I'm going to say good night. It's off to Laurie now.